Welcome, everyone, to the 60th inaugural ceremonies at the United States Capitol. My name is Emily Boisvert. I am the Capitol tour guide at the U.S. Capitol Visitor Center, where we welcome about 2.5 million visitors a year. Maybe you've been on my tour before, or with my colleague.
My name is Ron Jackson. I've been a tour guide. Well, when President Abraham Lincoln was inaugurated the second time, I was here and it just continued. Glad to have you today. Some of you might recall 4 years ago, my broadcast partner, Janet. Janet is watching. She's helping us. So glad to have you back. Emily, George Washington's inauguration happened April 30th, 1789. Well, that's because of weather. It was supposed to happen March 4th of 1789, and weather today has moved the inauguration inside. But JASIC, and we'll learn more about JASIC later, has a wonderful lineup for us today. What will we learn today?
Well, we're going to be at the United States Capitol building, which Congress first moved into in 1800. We're going to go, this is a shot of the east front right now, and that's the side that most people actually arrive to the Capitol at, which is going to happen today as well. But the first thing that everyone is going to see is the west front of the Capitol, and you can see that there are the 4 flags up. That's usually where we have inaugurations, but what did you say that the temperature was today, Ron?
22 degrees presently. It's approximately 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Saving Time, and let's just say conditions are supposed to, shall we say, deteriorate as in terms of temperature as the wind chill increases. We'll talk about this. This is not all that unfamiliar that we've had inaugurations inside the Capitol building.
Right, it has happened before, but everyone will be arriving on the east front of the Capitol building today. And let's just go through some of the spaces in the Capitol that you're going to see. The first room we want to show you is the President's Room.
Oh,
This gorgeous room.
I wish I could take, and don't tempt me, everyone watching this broadcast into the President's Room. This is a space that's not on the public route. We'll talk about what the President will do here. Look at those floors, look at the medallion. This is a stunning room on the second floor of the Senate side of the Capitol. Certainly not to be outdone. There are other rooms that we'll highlight, but look as this camera just politely and gently glides through this wonderful space. Well,
yes, well, I think we should also show the House side of the building.
one would think, right?
Well, yes, of course. And so let's go over to Statuary Hall, where, they're preparing for the luncheon already, and we'll talk a lot more about this room later. But the main action of the day is in the Capitol Rotunda. And maybe you are one of those people who came on one of our 8th grade tours. You know, this is the room that always impresses, and they've done a lot of work to set it up for today.
Look at those paintings. To give you a sense of first chronological perspective, this rotunda is 1824 to 26, and the paintings that you're looking at that we're going to go into great detail a little later on are about the Revolutionary War. So we want the world to know about the Revolutionary War. That particular marble statue to the right that the camera's spanning is called the Portrait Monument. The rotunda, the signature room of the United States Capitol.
Yeah, this is it is usually someone's first sort of exciting moment when they come into the Capitol building. What we can see is that it's under that big Capitol dome,
Yes.
right? And so you kind of walk through that doorway, which you can see straight ahead. That's how most people enter the building, and they look up and they always go, wow, it's 180 feet on the inside. And it's just a really gorgeous space.
Emily, people often ask us, what is the rotunda for? Ceremonies. And this ceremony today, which we've heard so much in the last few days about President Ronald Wilson Reagan in 1985, I think it's rather ironic where the stage is set up. President-elect Trump will look at a statue of President Reagan. You know, we were talking about weather, and look at this. Oh, this is, now you're up my alley here. Emily just mentioned 180 feet to a painting called The Apotheosis of George Washington. And friends, there's an artist whose name we're going to talk about at some length, Constantino Bermidi, who painted it. To give you an idea of size, it's the size of a basketball court. But Emily, doesn't this room look familiar to some of us?
I shouldn't say some, but quite a few thousands were here just 2 weeks ago.
Right. This is a really a great ceremony that we're going to have today, but it's not the only ceremony that we have in the Capitol Rotunda. And this was the site of President Carter's lying in state just a few days ago. It's not quite 2 weeks ago. And certainly Ron and I were here for that as well.
President Ronald Wilson Reagan laying in state this summer of 2005.
I remember distinctly lines extending to the Air and Space Museum. To give you an idea, friends, that's about 5 to 7 blocks away from the Capitol. It was a long wait. But today we'll witness the transition of power. Vice President-elect,
J.D. Vance?
how could I forget J.D. Vance from Ohio? J.D. Vance from Ohio and President Donald Trump.
Yes. And, we've had how many of these at the Capitol? We've had quite a few ceremonies, inaugural ceremonies at the Capitol building. Of course, they weren't all here because they only
Right.
moved here in 1800. And so before 1800, they were in New York and then in Philadelphia and now finally here in Washington. This is a great shot
Yes,
here
it is.
of the paintings. Now, those paintings in the background that we're seeing, they're by John Trumbull. And Ron, do you want to say a little bit about them?
John Trumbull from Lebanon, Connecticut, lost use of his left eye. He fell downstairs. He became an aide-de-camp to George Washington, and he's commissioned to paint these paintings. Now, I would say if we have any students, and I hope that we do, I hope we have a school group watching, the painting on the left-hand side very likely is recognizable to our 5th and 8th graders. Yes, it is Independence Hall in Philadelphia. It's not Independence Day. And President Thomas Jefferson, I hope we can zoom in even closer on the red vest. That's Thomas Jefferson. Look at that paper. That is not just point by point, Emily. That is page by page as to why we're leaving the crown. What a pointed moment. 2026, the country's birthday is 250 birthdays just ahead, but also President Jefferson, President Adams, who died the same day, they will be highlighted as well. But look at this to John Hancock as to why we're leaving the crown. That is a stunning, stunning view. Can I get into a little bit of symbolism here? Notice this. Sunlight is on the floor, but did we notice the curtains?
Oh, the curtains.
Sunlight is on the floor. Did we notice the drapes? How could one interpret that? One could, it's some level of secrecy. Now, it's not unfounded. You see this a lot during this time period during the Revolutionary War. I think who's interesting as well, the person to the far left in that, I'm not good with colors.
Emily, but it's kind of mauve. I don't know. It's kind of pinkish.
It's a reddish
Just,
color jacket.
Yeah, that's George Wythe. He's the first law professor. Just to aside, George Wythe, the first law professor in our country. But there's a lot going on in this painting. This painting's 12 by 18. Frame is curved, painting's flat.
I think that's bigger than my freshman dorm room. Also, in this shot, we're seeing that beautiful bronze of George Washington by Houdon. And this is, if you've ever been to Richmond, to the Capitol in Richmond, the state capitol, this is a copy of that lovely marble that's the original by the French artist. And we have the bronze, which is part of the state statue collection. And, it's just one of those iconic pieces of art that we see in the Capitol building. A lot of the sculpture in the Capitol building is of presidents. The next one over is Truman. That's one of our newest statues. And you can see there also, looks like the Marine Band is starting to set up there in the Capitol Rotunda. So we're all just getting ready for the ceremony a little bit later.
We're going to transition to the east front of the Capitol, the scene of where President Jackson was inaugurated on the east portico. That's the center under the flag. Just, you can call it, for layman's terms, a porch, if you will. This is a Senate side view, and there's a pediment to the right of the dome that's in form of a little bit of a triangle. It's called the progress of civilization. But the East Front has seen inaugurations. Let's think about this. When President Biden leaves, that's the same side that President Carter had inauguration. We mentioned earlier, Eisenhower, Kennedy. For a lot of people, this is the side of the Capitol for, if you're a certain age. This is, we don't say front or back, but the East Front is pointed. That centerpiece, genius of America. Let's slowly start to see people arrive. I love this plaza. This is where the helicopter, Marine One, will take the departing president. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm curious to our audience. I wonder what, when they see this particular piece of aircraft, is the white top more prevalent than the green? You know, and there's a ceremony that we'll talk about for the departure, but there's plenty of people on the Supreme Court Library of Congress side that this is the moment they look forward to.
Right, because the East Front looks right onto the Library of Congress and the Supreme Court. So we've got the Library of Congress in our backyard.
Oh, look at that setting.
How lucky are we that we get to use the Library of Congress? It is the biggest library in the world. But yeah, here's back to the East Front. You know, this is not how the Capitol would have looked if you had been here. Even, you know, when the first Capitol's finished in 1826, we've added on to this side of the building. And this, I was thinking about this the other day. The space where President Lincoln would have stood for his swearing in is now inside,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And they moved that whole piece out about 30 feet, right, in the 1960s. So we're looking specifically at the Senate side of the Capitol right now. You know, you can almost split the Capitol down the middle. Half belongs to the
Yes.
Senate, half belongs to the House. But today, everybody's going to be arriving on this side of the building over to the Senate.
I think what stands out for me is freedom. The statue on top of them, freedom, triumphant in war and peace. Dedicated December 2nd in 1863. I know we talked about inauguration so much. Thomas Jefferson walked from the modern-day Nicholas Longworth building, which used to be a hotel at one point, and entered the Capitol and gave his address and the oath of office. That was our first inauguration. It happened in the old Supreme Court. Used to be the Senate. But look at this iron dome. The first dome was wooden. We'll talk about him a little later. Charles Bulfinch from Boston.
My
I can't
home
say,
state.
I have a Southern accent, so Boston is the best I can do. The wooden dome burned. It was completed in 1824 to 26. The wooden dome burned Christmas Eve of 1851. And in 1855, Congress appropriated $100,000 for this beautiful wrought iron dome. The engineer, Montgomery Cunningham Meigs from Augusta, Georgia. The architect, Thomas U. Walter from Philadelphia. And speaking of architects, our new architect who arrived May of last year, Thomas Alston, smashing job here. Smashing job with all that he's had to deal with. Okay.
And I think right now, we're going to learn a little bit more about the history of inaugurations.
I'm ready.
And we have a video for you to look at.
Welcome to the 60th inaugural ceremonies. The inaugural ceremonies are a celebration of the peaceful transition of power, a uniquely American symbol of our constitutional system. It is a joint effort of all three branches of the U.S. government, led by the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, referred to as the JCIC. Although the Constitution specified the oath taken by the President, the framers of the Constitution provided that Congress would determine when and where the inauguration would take place. Since 1901, all inaugural ceremonies at the U.S. Capitol have been organized by the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. The first 28 inaugurations, however, were planned by the Committee on Arrangements of the United States Senate. The JCIC is responsible for planning all inaugural events that occur at the U.S. Capitol. As a joint committee, the JCIC is comprised of members from both houses of Congress. one of the unique cases of bicameral involvement in Congress. Members of the committee work across ideological and legislative divisions to host a celebration of our democracy. For the 60th inaugural ceremonies, the JSIC is chaired by Senator Amy Klobuchar and includes Senate Democratic Leader Charles E. Schumer, Senator Deb Fischer, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, and House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries. The JSIC oversees all details of the inaugural ceremonies that happen at the U.S. Capitol. This includes the arrival of the presidential motorcade to the Capitol, the swearing-in ceremonies of the president-elect and vice president-elect, the departure of the outgoing First Family, if applicable, the presidential signing ceremony, the luncheon in Statuary Hall, and the pass in review. JSIC members serve as ceremonial escorts for the president-elect while at the Capitol on Inauguration Day. The JSIC works closely with local and national law enforcement to ensure the safety of inaugural guests and spectators. The inaugural ceremonies are comprised of the following 8 events. By tradition, members of the JSIC travel to the White House to escort the president-elect, vice president-elect, and their spouses to the Capitol for the inaugural ceremonies. After a brief meeting, the president-elect and the outgoing president will then proceed together to the Capitol for the swearing-in ceremonies. The vice president and vice president-elect will follow, as will family members, cabinet members, and members of the JSIC. Since the first inauguration of George Washington in 1789, the procession to the inaugural ceremonies has provided an occasion for much celebration. In 1845, outgoing President John Tyler joined President-elect Polk for the carriage ride to the Capitol, firmly establishing the tradition first carried out by Van Buren and Jackson in 1837. The 1877 inauguration of Rutherford B. Hayes started the tradition of the president-elect going first to the White House to meet the outgoing president before proceeding to the Capitol. The vice president and vice president-elect followed in a separate carriage, and after them, members of the Senate Committee on Arrangements. Future inaugurations would follow this precedent. Just before the president-elect takes the oath of office on Inauguration Day, the vice president-elect will step forward on the inaugural platform and repeat the oath of office. Although the United States Constitution specifically sets forth the oath required by the president, it only says that the vice president and other government officers should take an oath upholding the Constitution. The present oath, repeated by the Vice President of the United States, senators, representatives, and other government officers, has been in use since 1884. The oath reads, "I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God." A variety of officials have administered the oath to vice presidents, including the President pro tempore of the Senate, the Chief Justice, the outgoing vice president, as well as friends and associates chosen by the vice president-elect. The location of the vice president's oath-taking ceremony has also changed since John Adams became vice president in 1789. Until 1937, most vice presidents took the oath of office in the Senate chamber, making it distinct and separate from the president's. When Inauguration Day moved to January 20th in 1937, the vice president's swearing-in ceremony moved from the Senate chamber to the inaugural platform on the Capitol's east front. Although the vice president's swearing-in ceremony lost some of its distinctness after it moved to the east front portico, it gained a public audience and reflected the growing political importance of the vice president as part of the executive branch of government. On April 30th, 1789, in front of New York's Federal Hall, our nation's first president, George Washington, took the oath of office on a balcony overlooking Wall Street. With the ceremony complete, The crowd below let out 3 big cheers, and President Washington returned to the Senate chamber to deliver his brief inaugural address. 4 years later, on March 4th, 1793, Washington's second inauguration happened in Philadelphia, where the government had taken up temporary residence while a permanent capital was being built along the Potomac. The president took his oath in a small Senate chamber on the second floor of Congress Hall. In March of 1801, the seat of the U.S. government had moved to Washington, D.C. The streets were muddy, almost impassable, and overgrown with bushes. On March 4th, 1801, President-elect Thomas Jefferson walked with few attendants and little fanfare to the Capitol building from his nearby lodgings at a boarding house to become the first president to be inaugurated in the nation's new capital city. Upon entering the Senate chamber, now the old Supreme Court chamber, Jefferson immediately took the oath of office administered by Chief Justice John Marshall and addressed the audience gathered in the Senate chamber. After his inaugural address, he finished his day with a meal at the boarding house. But for a few occasions, the inauguration ceremonies for all future presidents and vice presidents would take place in the city of Washington. Andrew Jackson's inauguration on March 4th, 1829, was the first of 35 held on the east front of the Capitol, though Jackson's second inauguration in 1833 took place inside the House chamber because of his ill health and bad weather. Presidents from Martin Van Buren in 1837 to Theodore Roosevelt in 1905 were sworn into office on the Capitol's east front. In 1909, a raging blizzard forced William Howard Taft's ceremony indoors to the Senate chamber. Ronald Reagan's 1981 inauguration was the first held on the west front of the Capitol. Seeking to minimize construction costs and improve visibility for a larger number of spectators, Congress shifted the ceremony from its traditional location of the East Front. Although Ronald Reagan's second inauguration on January 21, 1985, was forced indoors to the Capitol Rotunda because of bitterly cold weather, subsequent inaugurations have continued the West Front tradition, including those for George Bush in 1989, Bill Clinton in 93 and 97, George W. Bush in 2001 and 2005, Barack Obama in 2009 and 2013, Donald Trump in 2017, and Joe Biden in 2021. The custom of delivering an address on Inauguration Day started with the very first inauguration, George Washington's, on April 30th, 1789. After taking his oath of office on the balcony of Federal Hall in New York City, Washington proceeded to the Senate chamber, where he read a speech before members of Congress and other dignitaries. At his second inauguration in Philadelphia on March 4th, 1793, Washington gave the shortest inaugural address on record, just 135 words. Every president since Washington has delivered an inaugural address. While many of the early presidents read their addresses before taking the oath, current custom dictates that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court administer the oath first, followed by the president's speech. William Henry Harrison delivered the longest inaugural address at 8,445 words on March 4th, 1841. John Adams' inaugural address, which totaled 2,308 words, contained the longest sentence at 737 words. In 1921, Warren G. Harding became the first president to take his oath and deliver his inaugural address through loudspeakers. In 1925, Calvin Coolidge's inaugural address was the first to be broadcast nationally by radio. And in 1949, Harry S. Truman became the first president to deliver his inaugural address over television airwaves. Most presidents use their inaugural address to present their vision of America and to set forth their goals for the nation. Some of the most eloquent and powerful speeches are still quoted today. In 1865, in the waning days of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln stated, "With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right." let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. In 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt avowed, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." And in 1961, John F. Kennedy declared, "And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." When applicable, following the swearing-in ceremonies on the west front of the U.S. Capitol, the outgoing President and First Lady leave the Capitol to begin their post-presidential lives. Traditionally, the President's departure takes place with little ceremony. In 1797, George Washington attended the inauguration of his successor, John Adams. With few exceptions, subsequent departing presidents followed Washington's example. Until the early 20th century, the departing president also usually accompanied the newly elected president on the carriage ride from the Capitol to the White House following the inauguration. In the early 20th century, a new tradition evolved whereby the outgoing president quietly left the Capitol immediately following the swearing-in ceremony. In 1909, after congratulating President William Howard Taft, former President Theodore Roosevelt left the Capitol for Union Station, where he took a train to his home in New York. Outgoing Presidents Coolidge and Hoover also left the Capitol for Union Station, where they traveled home by train. Outgoing Presidents Truman, Eisenhower, and Johnson left the Capitol by car. In recent years, the newly installed President and Vice President have escorted their predecessors out of the Capitol after the swearing-in ceremony. The members of the JASIC gather on the stairs on the east front of the Capitol building and watch as the new Vice President escorts the outgoing Vice President and his spouse out of the Capitol through a military cordon. Then the new President escorts the outgoing President and his spouse through the military cordon. Since Gerald Ford's departure in 1977, the former President and First Lady have traditionally left the Capitol grounds by helicopter, weather permitting. The first official actions taken by the newly sworn-in President of the United States occur in the President's room, just off the Senate chamber in the U.S. Capitol. After the departure of the former President and First Lady, the new President gathers there with aides and members of Congress to sign nominations and sometimes memorandums, proclamations, or executive orders, and an enduring republic.
Welcome again to the 60th inaugural ceremonies. If you're just joining us, my name is Emily Boisvert, and I am joined by my colleague, Ron Jackson. We are both visitor guides at the United States Capitol Visitor Center. That was a great video, Ron. What did you think?
Pointed video, specific. It states the purpose, why we're here. And it leads to a trivia question that we're going to have very shortly.
We'll see how people are paying attention.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Purpose of JASIC, purpose of us, wonderful.
Yeah, I was struck at how technology has changed so much. Here we are, we're live streaming on the internet, something that, past presidents would even know what we were talking about. But, okay, ready, trivia question. You ready, Ron? Okay.
I'm ready.
Whose inauguration was the first to be broadcast on radio?
Repeat the question.
Whose inauguration was the first to be broadcast on radio?
Do I have an A, B, or C? Are you giving me options?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. A, Calvin Coolidge. B, FDR. C, Millard Fillmore. Or D, President Kennedy.
A.
You are correct. Ding, ding, ding.
22 million people heard that broadcast for the first time. His vice president was Charles Dawes of Georgia. And as a matter of fact, President Coolidge would make 40 more addresses via the radio But I think if you're a certain age, you would instantly think of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It's tough to mention Franklin Delano Roosevelt without mentioning Anna Eleanor Roosevelt as First Lady. But that's almost 100 years ago. It happened March of 1925.
Yeah, the 35th inaugural ceremonies.
You mentioned about this medium of broadcast. You know, 1901 is when we start to see images, and people love inaugurations. I want to be specific. Where do inaugurations happen? The People's Building. There are some exceptions, but it's important. It happens here, the Capitol, not the Supreme Court, not the White House, the People's Building.
Right, and I think here we're getting ready for the Rotunda. This has been transformed to be able to host the inauguration. I mean, I'm used to seeing it with thousands of 8th graders, but today it's set up for this very solemn and important event of the transfer of power from one presidential administration to the next.
Expect a voice from the Military District of Washington to introduce all the ceremonial rituals that we'll see. A selected guest only. Again, certainly feel for the thousands, tens of thousands that expected to be here to witness this in person on our West Front. But again, weather works. It is not. I mean, this picture that you see looks favorable, but look at the wind. The wind chills low. As a matter of fact, walking in this morning, it was an icy walk. I approached the Capitol in darkness. So, here's the view of the Rotunda again.
And I think we can just listen in. I think they're playing right now. Yeah, so the Marine Band looks like they're on the left-hand side of the screen. It is a tradition that they come to inaugurations. It started with Thomas Jefferson. They think that that's the first time that the Marine Band ever performed at an inauguration, and also that President Jefferson is the one who really gave them the moniker, the President's Own Marine Band.
President William Jefferson Clinton had a quote about the Marine Band. He said there's a lot of things in Washington he won't miss, but one thing he will miss, the Marine Band.
Yeah, and I can see why. I mean, these are professionals. Look at the pageantry in their uniforms. I mean, it's always a treat when we get to hear them play.
Emily, can you imagine if they were outside, wind instrument, your lips on a trumpet, on a flute?
Yeah. Those brass instruments, they can freeze up really fast. So I bet they're happy that they're inside today.
You mentioned earlier in the broadcast about President Truman being to the right of the George Washington statue. President Truman had the first broadcast, right, in terms of television. That happened in 1947. This is one of our new statues that we have.
From Missouri.
Missouri, yes. On his left hand. When you arrive in the Rotunda, get closer to him, look at, make your eyes work. That's a phrase I use to students all the time. Make your eyes work. Look at every part of a statue, their hands, their feet, their expression. It's wonderful. That Rotunda floor is made of Virginia sandstone, the same sandstone as the walls.
Right, and I think we're going to go, maybe some people are starting to arrive. So I'm hoping to see who's coming. We're definitely still setting up, but people are going to trickle in as we go through this. So we'll get to see that as well, hopefully. Oh, yep, here we go.
It's interesting, President Reagan's inauguration in 1985, so many were standing. If you look at the footage of it, so many, well, just about all. We'll talk about John Stennis from Mississippi earlier, who was seated. He was recovering from an illness. But look at this moment as the first group arrive.
You know, earlier you were talking about the Capitol dome and how it's made out of cast iron. Imagine all of the work that goes into the upkeep of the Capitol, and that's all done by our big boss, the architect of the Capitol.
Tremendous job.
Yep, and the Capitol dome has had a couple of restorations over the years. The most recent one was in 2016, but they also just finished this whole restoration of the stone on the outside of the Capitol. I mean, some of it is from the sandstone that you were just mentioning is also on the outside of the Capitol, kind of in the middle of the building. But then on the bigger wings with the pediments, that's all marble from Lee, Massachusetts.
Yes.
I have a lot of Massachusetts facts. I know Ron's from Kentucky, I'm from Massachusetts, and we each have our own, we each have our own special facts about where we're from.
Let's listen to the University of Nebraska at Lincoln Choir, please.
That was, I mean, just gorgeous. From the University of Nebraska. That is so hard to do, to change how you're going to stand for a performance like that. I'm a singer, and I've done many performances in all different types of places. That was amazing. That song was One Voice by Ruth Moody. And now I think we're going to see some people arrive, maybe. We're back on the East Front. So hopefully some people are going to start showing up pretty soon.
Our former vice presidents are approaching now. Remember, this will be the inauguration of the 50th vice president, J.D. Vance from the state of Ohio. The vice president is president of the Senate. Again, this angle provided for us by JASIC depicts the Senate side of the Capitol. We expect to see former vice presidents arriving shortly. That was a wonderful rendition. We love music. And see the pan shot here that's getting the entire campus. Well, I shouldn't say when we say East Front, we're talking the area across from the Library of Congress and the modern-day Supreme Court. So oftentimes we say East Front, and someone might say, well, could you be more specific? And I'm hoping that that helps.
Yeah, and we've been mentioning JASIC a couple of times, and we said it at the top, but we'll repeat it again, that JASIC stands for the Joint Committee on Congressional Inaugural Ceremonies. That is quite a mouthful, and that's why we say JASIC. And I think we have a little bit more information from the members of JASIC, specifically the chair of this inauguration's JASIC committee, Amy Klobuchar. So we'll be watching that.
The peaceful transfer of power is at the heart of our democracy. It reaffirms that ours is and always will be a government of, by, and for the people. The inaugural ceremonies are one of our most iconic traditions, where we recognize our democracy and the sacred values that tie us together in front of millions of people across the country and around the globe. The tradition of the inaugural ceremonies at the Capitol dates back to when Thomas Jefferson took office in the old Senate chamber in 1801. It was almost 8 years after President George Washington first laid the cornerstone of the building in 1793, and only one wing of the building had been completed at the time. Over time, the ceremony was moved to the east side of the building and later to the west front for President Ronald Reagan's inauguration in 1981. Through the years, our dedication to the continuity of our government has remained the same, and today we carry the torch forward yet again. The inaugural ceremonies are the culmination of nearly 250 years of our great American experiment in democracy. Our founding fathers intended for the stability of the country to be rooted in the will of the people. Whether or not our candidate wins, we as a nation recognize that when the president-elect raises his right hand and takes the inaugural oath of office, that signifies the peaceful transfer of power. That's what this ceremony is all about. Since George Washington was sworn in as our first president in 1789, the inaugural ceremonies have taken place every 4 years, through times of peace, prosperity, and adversity. Today, we gather at the Capitol, a beacon of freedom, to fulfill the Constitution's promise to protect our enduring democracy for generations to come.
175 years ago, one former senator and Secretary of State summarized the theme of our 2025 presidential inauguration. He said, "The Constitution of the United States was made not merely for the generation that then existed, but for posterity, unlimited, undefined, endless, perpetual posterity." Our Constitution established this country as a shining city upon a hill, the first nation founded upon an idea. Our Constitution realized the founders' vision of a government striving to protect each person's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our Constitution revolutionized America. It revolutionized the world. It was the first of its kind. In many ways, our Constitution was for the generation who wrote it, but more than that, it was for the generations that followed. It is for us today, and it is for our descendants, the generations that will follow us. The Constitution enshrined our inalienable God-given rights. It immortalized America's commitment to justice and to liberty for all, and the democracy that keeps those ideals alive. After all, the Constitution begins with we the people. Today's inauguration continues the traditions that have upheld our nation and its peaceful transfer of power for almost 2.5 centuries. The theme of the 60th inaugural ceremonies is Our Enduring Democracy, a constitutional promise. Like I said earlier, that theme was described 175 years ago, a decade before the Civil War. But most significantly, it was described at our founding. It is described in our very own Constitution, established to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. This 60th inauguration, only the second time a president has been sworn in for a second time, marks another milestone in securing those blessings for ourselves and the generations to come. May we not forget the rich significance of our peaceful transfer of power today. And may today renew our commitment to the American Constitution and to the American people.
Welcome back to the 60th inauguration. You are looking presently at the east front of the United States Capitol. We look forward to welcoming the children of President George Bush. You see the camera zooming in. What a wonderful video. We just heard from Senator Deb Fisher from Nebraska, the chair of CHASIC, Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota. So as we continue to zoom in towards the east front, the buildup continues. I know it's noon that the oath of office is rendered, but there's so much to see prior to this on a rather beautiful but cold day.
Right. You can see the ice is still on the lawn out there. A lot of work goes into making sure that all of these surfaces are safe for everyone to walk on. And hopefully we'll get to see former President Bush arrive fairly shortly.
There is a tree that his father planted to Lamar Smith from Texas. I'm a huge fan of our Capitol grounds. So when we talk about names, sometimes I'm going to reference trees. You'll hear that throughout the broadcast. And the type of tree. I know. Like there's a white ash to Speaker Sam Rayburn. It's not far. Matter of fact, there is a tree to Senator Edward Kennedy just to the left. Actually, you can see it in this camera range now. That tree just to the left of the brick wall here.
Oh, and here they are. Here's, this is, I believe, former President Bush and Mrs. Bush Laura Bush. They're arriving now, coming around to the carriage door. Because at one point people arrived by carriages, right?
Yes.
And so they'll be coming in over on the Senate side of the building in just a few minutes, I think.
I love that Laura and George Bush President, they met at the undergraduate library. Right?
Well, she was a librarian.
You're right, she was a librarian.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep. President Bush, he served 2 terms in office. Right?
Yes.
Starting in 2001. I don't know. Could I go back that far? That was 20 years ago.
I tell you, his inauguration wasn't exactly warm that day as well, at least the first one, as I recall. Look at everyone. Now, this is our first look at the House side of the Capitol. Our camera views focus on the Senate side. This extension happened in 1857. So for those that have watched a State of the Union or an address in the House chamber, that chamber is December 16th, 1857.
Yeah, from this angle, you can really see the difference between the 2 types of stone as well. The older stone that is painted sandstone, and then the lovely marble on the other side. But you get a really good view of how the Capitol has been put together through time. But it looks seamless.
Yes. Emily, we have another trivia question for everyone.
We do.
Okay. How many swearing-in ceremonies have occurred on the east front of the Capitol? Again, when we say east front, we're talking about if you're coming from the Library of Congress or the Supreme Court, looking back at the Capitol, how many inaugural swearing-ins have occurred on the east front? Can I give people numbers?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, give me.
Okay, here we go.
Give me a list.
A, 14, B, 24, C, 26, just to throw you off, D, 34.
Well, I read this last night, so I know it's 34. I know it's 34 happened on this side of the building over time.
The point being is this is what a lot of people are used to seeing. Again, if you're a certain age, this side is, my goodness, all of the building is historic, but this is memorable for a lot of people. For President Kennedy, we could go Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Not all of them, but
right. I mean, I think being the history nerd that I am, the picture of the inauguration I think of this side of the building is Lincoln's. I mean, I mentioned him before, but I'll mention him again.
Frederick Douglass, who attended the second inauguration of President Lincoln.
Right.
That's when I arrived.
And, they're still building the Capitol, the new dome, when they had Lincoln's inauguration on this side of the building. So we've had inaugurations under all sorts of circumstances. And yet, there is a transfer of power, this enduring democracy that the 2 senators were talking about. It all goes on. And I mean, I saw another car come in, but I don't know who's arriving at the moment. But we will definitely see more and more people as we go through. While I'm looking at this, I'm looking at those lanterns.
Oh, sure.
And this landscape was done by Frederick Law Olmsted. If you think, oh, maybe I've heard of his name before, you might have heard of him because he's the one who designed. Ron, you're the expert.
Oh,
Central Park.
Central Park. Every college campus, from Maine to the state of Georgia, Iowa State. There's a tree. Yes, there's a tree named after Frederick Law Olmsted, not far from this area. You'll have to come and take our Capitol Grounds tour. Not in January, for goodness sakes, in May and June. We anticipate more of dignitaries approaching, more families. Just think about when their day started. This morning, with some of them with the prayer breakfast, some with, at St. John's Church, which is historic, just across from Lafayette Park. So again, this build-up continues.
Yeah, and I think, here we go. Yes, this is the Trump family arriving now.
That's hard to believe. The 2017 inauguration of Vice President Pence and President Trump, it was 48 degrees. You remember that, Emily? It rained. You remember it rained at least part of that day. And although
Yeah.
I must say, people are walking as if it's not exactly recreational weather out there, but
They're walking swiftly.
ambitiously.
When I was looking at the inaugural movie that we saw before, the thing I noticed was how tiny Barron Trump was, because he was just a little boy.
Well, not now.
Not now.
No, he's
Yep, now he's in college, and so looks like some folks are getting out of the cars now. But yeah, I believe all of the president's elect's children, his children are attending today. It's a big event for families, real pinnacle moment. We're just watching.
they are
them
moving
coming
quickly.
in.
That's a
Yeah. There they are, walking inside, yeah.
reacting to the person in the brown overcoat, moving swiftly. That's like 2017. So this is something they're familiar with. This is
Right, so I think in the green, that's Ivanka Trump.
this fastest. Yeah.
Yes. Lovely green jacket. We have
There's
more
someone in
family
black
members
that I
coming in.
just missed. They're doing this rather quickly. That's rather impressively.
Yep, all of this, of course, timed so that we can get to the noon swearing-in ceremony. And yeah, more and more people arriving as we keep on talking, and they're going to fill up the rotunda. Hundreds of people in the rotunda today, and in Emancipation Hall, which is in the Capitol Visitor Center. Capitol Visitor Center is right underneath that plaza that you see. So there we go. There's the rotunda. Everybody will take their seats in there.
I'd like to hear more from the choir. I was rather impressed.
Yeah. Yeah, the choir is a joint choir. Senator Fisher, we just heard from, she's from Nebraska, and so she asked them to come and talk, to sing for the inauguration, because she's on the joint committee, and I think they did a really great job, considering they had to change everything at the last minute, like everyone else. Because we're honoring the request of the president-elect to hold the ceremonies inside this year. Because, as we've been talking about, it's cold outside.
There's going to be I can promise you, a stirring rendition by Lee Greenwood. I can recall my years at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I think the first time I heard Lee Greenwood was 1986. And he sang God Bless America. There was, I can't remember the field, but a lot of people have heard this rendition via television, perhaps radio. There is nothing like it in person. And so not just the words, but look at his expression, look at everyone that's around, and you will be moved. This is one of our great moments of an inauguration. Music. I can recall last inauguration, Garth Brooks, who rented the national anthem, just literally came in from the East Front, went through the West Front, down to the platform, and then shook someone's hand and walked away. It's just so expect a moment here for Mr. Lee Greenwood singing "God Bless America."
I think that's going to be in a little while, but before that, I heard that some more people are arriving.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I think former vice presidents are going to start to arrive next. So we're waiting on that. But I agree with you. Music is a very important part of the inauguration, and I'm looking forward to all of the performances that we're going to hear today.
Friends, let's hear from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and Steve Scalise, respectively, from Louisiana. I think you'll be touched by this video as well.
The history of the inauguration is in part a history of our people and our government. On our first inauguration day in 1789, church bells rang and ceremonial cannons were fired to celebrate George Washington becoming president. Every inauguration is a reminder that the people, and not just one man, are the ones ultimately in charge. I've experienced firsthand 2 inaugurations live, and they're such special events. Regardless of policies and politics, an inauguration represents a new moment in America as we honor a time-cherished tradition. There's reverence and a sense of togetherness, and that's what our country needs. I really believe President Trump will do a phenomenal job, and we all know the presidency is bigger than even just one man. It takes all of us for the country to succeed, and the American people are the smartest, hardworking, and most generous people in all of the world. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world, and with a great president and the great American people, I truly believe our country can soar to new heights. The inauguration also reminds us of the importance of faith. Every president has taken the oath of office using a Bible. After George Washington was sworn in, he kissed the Bible where he placed his hand. Calvin Coolidge, Ulysses Grant, Benjamin Harrison, so many other presidents did the exact same thing. And for hundreds of years now, presidents have concluded their oath with the words, "So help me God."
So help you God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help me God.
The United States is a gift from above, and our founders made sure that we knew that our rights come from God and not the government. They boldly proclaimed that as a self-evident truth. So even that phrase, "So help me God," is a reminder that we would be nowhere without heaven's continued care and blessing. We're all excited for the America First agenda that President Trump is leading. And we also have a real sense of reflection on our history. Our grand experiment in self-governance has endured for nearly 250 years now. In fact, it was 250 years ago, this year, that the first shots of the revolution were fired at Lexington and Concord, and Paul Revere made his famous ride. Our people have endured world wars and civil wars. We've endured economic depressions and even terrorist attacks. But no matter what trouble we face, or how many times we get knocked down, we're going to get back up. We'll never be destroyed, and we will always press ahead. The secret of our genius is the timeless principles that we represent. The belief that every person is made in the image of God and has the inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We boldly proclaim that as a self-evident truth. And as we remember all the presidents we've had and the 250 years of history our people have made, we're praying that our country and our experiment in self-government will endure for generations to come.
A presidential inauguration is so important to our country because this shows the peaceful transfer of power from one president to the next. And it's not just important to the United States, to people all around the world. It shows what a real democracy looks like, and it reminds everybody why the United States is such a special place. Every presidential inauguration is an opportunity for the new president to lay out their agenda for the country and their vision, especially to show the people of the nation what's ahead, that shining city on the hill. And for Donald Trump, he becomes only the second person in history to come back as president a second time. And so as he becomes the 47th president, I'm sure President Trump's going to be laying out that vision for the nation, how we can get our country back on track and show opportunity and optimism for all Americans.
Well, welcome, if you're just joining us, to the 60th inaugural ceremonies. My name is Emily Boisvert, and I'm joined by my colleague, Ron Jackson. And we're here at the United States Capitol. We're looking at the east front of the Capitol building right now, and we're waiting for everyone, anxiously awaiting for everyone to arrive here today for the 60th inauguration.
Emily, that last video, I'd like to highlight what the House Majority Leader, Speaker Solis, referenced about inaugurations. And I wrote this quote down. This inauguration shows what a democracy looks like. The practice of democracy. I thought that was as pointed of a moment of what I've seen so far from the videos. I really like that. Steve Scalise from Louisiana. He knows where my stepmother is from. A little place called Bunkie, Louisiana. You've never heard of that. No one's heard of that. Again, the buildup continues here. By the way, just the cloud cover just kind of split here. Look at that flag.
Oh, that's a great shot down Pennsylvania Avenue. So
That's the first one we've seen of this, right?
Right.
Of this view.
Right. So to your left-hand side, those are the Smithsonian museums, and then right ahead, right there in the middle, is the Capitol of the United States.
Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. Well, normally that would be a site of parade, but this year is going to be quite different in terms of a parade. Well, that wind is increased since we came on at 8:55 Eastern Time. That is, again, this was forecasted.
Yeah, but you can really, I mean, it's a cold day, but it's a clear day, so you can see the hills in the background. That's Maryland, believe it or not, because the district is, well, it was part of Maryland originally, and then they carve out this federal district, this federal city of Washington, and designed by Pierre-Charles L'Enfant. So we have these wide avenues that lead to the government buildings like the U.S. Capitol.
All names that of French origin Emily will pronounce.
It goes with the last name. You can learn all of the French names. You know, the black flag underneath the Stars and Stripes, we also have that flying in the Rotunda. And a lot of people ask us, especially international visitors, about the flag. Would you like to talk a little bit?
The Prison War Missing Action flag was really ordained when President Reagan President Reagan was inaugurated, if I'm not mistaken, and we've had a particular flag looking like that in the Rotunda since the 1980s. You just mentioned about tourists. Please do not touch flags in the Rotunda. Don't do it. Don't even think about it. It's not that you're trying to be disrespectful or insensitive. You just may not know, but please don't touch flags. Speaking of flags.
Back in the Rotunda. Yeah, look at all those flags. Well, I recognize, of course, the American flag.
In ROTC, I at times, I was part of the color guard. And this is, of course, I was much younger. That is something to hold those streamers, to hold the American flag is a great privilege. As the camera is in this particular zoom, Emily, the three women to the left of the American flag, there's a name for them, the Portrait Monument. And I know we're going to see the Rotunda a lot, but just very briefly, who are the women?
Oh, I think, well, we'll definitely talk about that before too long, but I believe that there are some members of the cabinet coming in right now, and cabinet spouses are also arriving. So we have these huge buses.
With Marine One.
With Marine One in the background.
And for those that have history of the Capitol, but you're not familiar with the new Visitor Center, those skylights, yes, they are new for some. But we anxiously await who's...
A part of me can't believe that Marine One is on the roof of essentially our office, the Capitol Visitor Center, right?
That's true. We anticipate cabinet designees coming, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the department heads will be here shortly. But America is really on display when it comes to inaugurations.
I don't know about you, but when I was coming in today, I felt like every bus, every mode of transportation has been requisitioned for this event to make sure everybody gets there on time, make sure the streets are clear.
We anticipate seeing Mr. Musk and Zuckerberg leaving these vehicles. They've had a long 2 or 3 days. We're being selfish, or perhaps I'm being selfish in talking about the event for today, but this started, this crescendo to get us to this point has gone on for a couple of days. With no shortage of people gathering around. We'll give us a few seconds, take our time with this.
I think I see Senator Rubio has exited the bus.
Tulsi Gabbard is disembarking very shortly.
These are all people who have been nominated for the president-elect's cabinet.
Kristi Noem. Pete Hegseth, who...
Is that him out front, I believe?
With his hands in his pocket?
Yes.
Without an overcoat? I believe so. This potential Secretary of Defense. Well, he's a military guy. Is this just a mere brisk day for him? He's going to be fine.
Yeah, so it looks like they're getting a military escort into the Capitol. And
I see United States Marines. That's what I see.
Mm-hmm. Here's a Marine band, Marine escort.
Yes, but I do see Air Force personnel. Military District of Washington, all 6 participating. We're going to hear a little later, I think, from the Coast Guard band.
Yep. There's so much that goes into planning for all of these people to come to the Capitol building and gather together for this ceremony. All the little pieces, we're seeing all of them right now.
Emily, I saw people running in shorts on Capitol Saturday. Yesterday morning, breezy. Then conditions changed. It was cold. It was windy. You wouldn't know, but look how beautiful the day is.
It looks clear, but I'm telling you, it is very cold. Oh, and there's another shot of the Capitol right up front.
Oh, Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, yes.
Yep.
It's about a mile and a half between the Capitol building and the President's house. By the way, it's Theodore Roosevelt that renamed the President's house the White House. That's who did that.
Yep. So it looks like everybody's making their way inside. I'm sure they're happy about that.
Emily, I think we've seen no shortage of I'd say about 300 people that have entered the East Front. And we know the Rotunda. We saw chairs. There won't be that many to be seated, and there's other areas they'll be placed at. So it will be hundreds and hundreds of people here. But the moment in the Rotunda, yes, that will be restricted.
Well, at least this time they get seats, because with President Reagan's second inauguration, they didn't have enough time to set all this up like we did for today, and there was basically standing room only. If you look at that footage,
yeah, people have seen footage by now. There were people, unfortunately, shall we say, close to statues. Okay, they were hanging from certain statues. Don't do that ever. You'll catch my eye. Don't do that ever.
Yeah, but here we are back in the Rotunda waiting for everyone to arrive. There are some things in here that are different from how you normally see it, the bunting in particular. They've added for inauguration specifically. Usually that's not here. We're a little more pared back, typically.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, former Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable Mitch McConnell, accompanied by the Honorable Elaine Chao.
Senator Mitch McConnell just being introduced from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and his wife, former Secretary of Labor, Elaine Chao.
Yep, they're coming in from the Senate side of the building.
Senator Mitch McConnell, who is no longer in leadership, but still very prevalent. Well, what he has seen, to think about the years, he dates back to the 1960s, the early 60s. before the March on Washington, even when he arrived in terms of being an intern as well. Think about this. They just introduced the former minority and majority leader of the Senate, and President-elect Donald Trump won't be sworn in until approximately noon. Now, again, stay with us. Even beyond the inauguration, the National Statuary Hall with our luncheon, the President's Room, the sign. There's a lot to see.
That's right. Now, we've been talking about how cold it is outside, right?
Yes.
Did you notice when we were watching the inauguration that people weren't wearing hats?
Didn't notice
when we were
that.
in the video.
Did notice that.
So, which president was last, do you think, to wear a top hat?
Well, did not President Kennedy take his hat off?
He did.
Well, he has good hair. I mean, who would?
Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's a stovepipe hat is what we're, in terms of tradition, right? That rather direct presence. It's kind of sharp. I've never worn one.
No?
No, I've never worn a stovepipe hat. That might change.
Next time you come to a tour at the Capitol, look for Ron and his stovepipe hat. Well, I mean, we're still just waiting for more people to arrive, but it's a...
Let's see what we can see here.
Yeah, I'm trying to...
Oh, Mr. Zuckerberg entering. Who is that with that stunning white coat? What, that's really sharp. Oh, Mr. Bezos, Jeff Bezos just came. Thank you to our spotters. We should have said that. Thank you to our spotters.
Yep, looks like more people are arriving right now. Hopefully we'll be able to see who they are. Oh, and yes, it looks like they're going into the carriage door on the Senate side and then moving across and over to the House side again.
Okay, former President William Jefferson Clinton and Senator and First Lady Hillary
And
Rodham Clinton.
Secretary
Yes.
Clinton.
It's 1996 inauguration. I remember walking down the street from the Union Station. Oh, there comes.
Oh. Yep, there's Secretary Clinton. You can
Okay.
see her in the black with the turquoise scarf.
I was going to say teal. I'm glad you said turquoise. The Obamas are close behind.
Is President Obama.
Should say, excuse me, President Obama. Excuse me.
Yep. President Obama's coming out next. Bill Clinton's 1997 inauguration was the first one broadcast on the internet.
Correct.
I remember looking that up. We still had dial-up internet at the time.
Dial-up internet.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
We've
That
moved
was
on from
brutal.
that. Yes. But President Obama is going to be the next to arrive, we believe. And he's walking in now. Yep. So looks like everybody's coming out for this. There he is.
There he is.
I can.
Look at that distinctive walk.
Yes, I was going to say the same thing.
And without a coat, without a hat. He feels nothing waving at someone.
Yep.
Speaking of inaugurations that had cold weather.
President Obama's was fairly cold.
Fairly cold. My goodness.
Both of them.
Yeah, that's right, actually.
I was here for the second one.
I've never talked about weather so much in my life.
You can see just more people arriving on the east front.
Well,
Yep.
just inching our way towards
And you
the
can
oath
hear
of office. You're going to remark about the instruments, the band.
you can hear the Marine Band again. People taking their seats. You know, the main podium is going to be flanked by these paintings we were talking about earlier by John Trumbull. And these are all based on the really the founding of the United States. It starts, we have revolution scenes. Oh, here we have more people arriving.
The staging areas throughout the Capitol. The Capitol has over 500 rooms, and many, including the Capitol Visitor Center, will be used.
Is that Majority Leader Scalise? No.
I think you're in the red tie. Yes, black suit.
Yeah.
Now remember, friends, the ceremony, one of the ceremonies, I should say, the prelude is about 11 o'clock. So, again, we'll get there. I know it's 10:21 Eastern Time. We will get there. We'll get to William Henry Harrison a little while in terms of 1841 when he rode a horse from the Capitol from the White House and back.
Yeah, the first,
Let's see. Ooh, let's see who we can see. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. Oh, I think I saw Senator from Arizona in that shot.
Senator Kelly.
Yes, Senator Kelly. That piano's beautiful.
It is. I was going to say the keyboard or piano.
Yeah, that is lovely in the background.
This rotunda floor is going to be overwhelmed with people here in about another hour. Remember the Supreme Court justices. We just mentioned about the presidents and, the vice presidents, former vice presidents, former presidents and their family. Where will everyone go?
They're certainly going to be elbow to elbow sitting there. But Supreme Court justices are arriving now. You're just speaking about the Supreme Court.
And Brett Kavanaugh, Associate Justice Kavanaugh, will renew the oath of office to Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Chief Justice John Roberts will give the oath of office to President-elect Donald J. Trump.
Mm-hmm. And that is, that's in the Constitution, that the Chief Justice gives the President-elect the oath of office. And so that's a tradition that is set.
You know, when Vice President George Herbert Bush was sworn in, it was Associate Justice Potter Stewart. And again, the year's 1985, and unfortunately, Justice Stewart passed on later that year, 1985. Yeah, December of that year, December 7th, to be specific. But a longtime friend. Of Vice President Bush. I'm looking forward to America the Beautiful. I'm looking forward to, of course, the national anthem.
And they're playing My Country 'Tis of
My
Thee
Country
right
'Tis of
now. I almost sang along.
Huh?
I held it in, but
Well, I'm bass. You're probably
alto.
Alto.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll see.
you never know.
We've yet to talk about the House and Senate Sergeant at Arms.
Oh.
They're responsible for this, along with JSIC as well. When I say responsible for this, it's so many agencies that are involved. But the Senate Sergeant at Arms, Lieutenant General retired Eric Gibson, House Sergeant at Arms.
Ready. Post.
Oh, here's the ready post. That just alerted me as a military man. There's all this coordination that goes with Capitol Police. What a Herculean job it is for Capitol Police. I mean, everyone with credentials.
Right, and we also have the help of outside police departments and the National Guard. All of them here.
Of attending physician has to be pleased. I shouldn't say pleased, but moving the inauguration inside. That certainly helped them. Let's be honest. This would have been a tough day outside to tend to people. And just think about that. The gates would have opened at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. 200,000 tickets, over 200,000 tickets were distributed. That's a lot to deal with. So I'm certain that attending physician's office, not that displeased that things were moved. Proceedings.
I'm hearing a song I haven't heard in years. This is my country.
This is my country.
I remember singing this as a little girl. Yeah, we've got, so it looks like members of the House are coming in from the House side of the building. Members of the Senate are coming in from the Senate side of the building.
We have governors, the
Yes.
mayor of the District of Columbia, Mayor Bowser.
The Librarian of Congress is
Dr.
going to be here,
Hayden.
Dr. Hayden. The first woman to be the Librarian of Congress. Also Thomas Austin, we mentioned him before because he's our big boss. We're going to mention him again, probably. The architect of the Capitol. Well, this is a great march. I'm trying to place it, though.
So am I. Give us a few seconds.
Well,
Emily, ceremonies. I mentioned the Rotunda is ceremonial. And besides inaugurations, besides Lion and States, we've had statues unveiled here, Remembrance Day, victims, survivors of Holocaust Memorial. Quite a few ceremonies have happened. You know, we're talking about President Reagan in 1985 for his inauguration. Think about the planning for him. That happened the afternoon before. So it happened Sunday afternoon. The Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies found out, if I'm not mistaken, it was announced Friday. So they've had just a little more time to coordinate. Now, again, it doesn't make everyone happy. There's a lot of people that just simply you can't put 200,000 people in the Capitol building. There's not enough space. So
yes, we have 2.5 million visitors a year, but not all at the same time. Right. So, but I was just thinking about the Marine Band a little bit because they're playing right now, and I think, of course, someone will tell me if I'm wrong, but the march that they were playing is one by John Philip Sousa.
John Philip Sousa,
who was born in the district. He was the director of the Marine Band. Real influence on the patriotic music that we think of today when we think of American marches and American music. It's really John Philip Sousa who's one of the main influences in that type of music.
There's so much named after him. There's bridges named after him, schools. He's buried at Congressional Cemetery in Washington, D.C., which is just down the road a little bit from the Capitol building. Again, we're looking at the Rotunda. This is the west side of the Capitol, these Revolutionary War paintings that you just seen at the base. Again, the buildup continues. Yeah, I'd like to know how many students are streaming in. You know, when we were younger, inaugurations, you went to school that day. You went to
Yes.
school that day, and then you knew it happened. But now, with everything that's available to people, students now in their classroom are able to stream. Perhaps they're streaming our YouTube feed now. I think that's important. A lot of what we do is teach young people, and inaugurations is more than a teachable moment.
So I think Franklin Graham has arrived. Oh, and he's going to be doing one of the
Prayers.
prayers during the ceremony.
His father, Reverend William Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's statue was unveiled May 17th of last year. That statue is placed in the crypt. His wife, Ruth, is behind his left shoe.
Yeah,
That's speaking of ceremonies in the Rotunda. Reverend Billy Graham.
Oh, there we go.
There he
There's
is.
Franklin Graham.
Mhm.
Oh, and there's I believe that's Cardinal Dolan next to him from
Who-
New York.
He's on the program.
Mhm. I was sort of hoping he would wear some of his vestments.
Yeah, Reverend Billy
But-
Graham. I remember, speaking of weather, it happened in February of a few years ago when Reverend William Franklin Graham, who lay in the state. You know, there was a family member that greeted everyone that came in the Rotunda.
That's right.
You remember that? There was a family member, and I can't remember if it was an overnight visual or not. But
Not that one.
It went out that one, but it was lengthy. There was,
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but I recall a family member greeted everyone that entered the Rotunda, and then again, just May of last year, his statue.
Now we're happy that even though we've moved it inside, and so there aren't as many people outside watching, we do have about 100,000 people watching this live stream today. So yeah,
I noticed at the beginning 2.2 million people had signed up, or at least were on it. They were waiting at I don't know, 8:45, 8:50, but 100,000 and more coming. Let's be honest. We have a lengthy broadcast, and again, we're really just getting started. JASIC just isn't honoring the oath of office beyond that, and we have so much to show you.
yes, and hopefully members of the Joint Committee are going to arrive soon. And if members of the Joint Committee are arriving, that means we're really getting close to the start of the ceremony. And this is them arriving now.
Mr. Speaker, good morning. How do you feel this morning?
It's exciting. Bright, sunny outside, bright in our hearts.
Oh, we just heard the speaker.
A lot. We'll see.
Thank you.
Speaker Mike Johnson from Louisiana.
This isn't a trivia question, but I'm going to give one.
Okay.
The second coldest inauguration. The second coldest. We know the coldest. Everyone knows the second coldest. So I'm just going to throw out
I
three.
think I know it.
You do?
Mm-hmm. Is it Ulysses S. Grant?
Yes, it is. Can't fool anyone.
Yes.
Yeah. 20 degrees. in the morning, it was 4 degrees.
Yeah.
Ouch.
No interview. Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
We're hearing some of the audio from the people who are coming in.
The Speaker's office is close by. We should mention that the Speaker's office is just off the side of the house side of the Rotunda. That hasn't always been the Speaker's office. It's been on our beloved East Front lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, it was under Speaker Newt Gingrich that the Speaker's office moved to its present location.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
What is your message today? Sir, thank you.
How quickly are we filling up?
I know, you said it was going to happen.
Well, much sooner than I thought.
Yeah. Well, there are 535 members of Congress, right? So everyone gets a seat today. Plus,
Well, yeah, you mentioned plus cabinet members,
cabinet members.
Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Yeah.
Our boss has a seat someplace. I'm looking for Mr. Austin. He's probably he'll probably work it up until the very second.
And the delegates from the territories and District of Columbia. I think we mentioned Mayor Muriel Bowser and the governors and all sorts of people coming here today.
The statue to the right that's in marble is President Abraham Lincoln. To the left will be President Ulysses S. Grant. And then to the left of that, the bronze statue, Harry S. Truman. That particular statue of President Abraham Lincoln dates back to 1870, sculpted by a woman.
The first woman to sculpt a statue for the Capitol, Vinnie Ream. She was a teenager when she got this job. It's just amazing.
Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah. She was able to do such a lovely piece of art. And then the Ulysses S. Grant statue was a gift, but not from a state this time.
Mm-hmm. Right. That again, it's rather strange. Every state must give 2 statues, but some statues are gifts, like Thomas Jefferson, and then some are commissioned by Congress. Senator McConnell is talking to. Let's see if we can get closer.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh.
the members of the United States Senate, led by Majority Leader, the Honorable John Thune, Majority Whip, the Honorable John Barrasso, and Democratic Whip, the Honorable Dick Durbin.
Senate leadership has arrived, led by Senator John Thune, Senator Barrasso from Wyoming, Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois.
Yes, everyone just taking their seats.
Getting back to the Lincoln statue about Vinnie Ream, she's a wonderful story. She's buried in Arlington National Cemetery. She married an Air Force officer, the last name of Hoxie, H-O-X-I-E. You may not pronounce his name, just
Oh, I think I just saw Senator Booker.
Cory Booker from New Jersey.
Yep. He's got the blue tie on. I think that's him.
Senator John Cornyn. Yeah, Senator John Cornyn with the noticeable silver hair. That's white. Red tie.
Yeah, this is more of the Senate coming in to take their seats.
I see Senator from Pennsylvania.
Oh, Elizabeth Warren.
Peterson.
She's wearing
Yeah.
purple today. Oh, I see her. Yep. in
Senator
the
Fetterman
corner.
is in shorts. That's my first oh my moment. I'll leave it at that. He's wearing a black hoodie. Okay.
Oh, everyone's filling in.
I think I
Senator
see-
Cruz.
Yep. Ted Cruz. Don't worry, friends of the House. We will be, when they file in, just trust us. We will.
Yeah, some of them have already come in, but we'll pick them out as well.
That's hardly 40 years. President Reagan at his inauguration.
Mhm.
I'm told by former tour guides and just Washingtonians, that was a cold day.
Senator, right this way, please. Hey, Daisy, sorry. Resume focus. He started my man. Looking forward to working.
We just found out that the presidential motorcade has left the White House. So they finished their tea, and they're going to be arriving in just a few minutes, of course. We're going to speed down Pennsylvania Avenue because they've got a motorcade and come right over to us.
They're not taking a horse like President William Henry Harrison?
No. No, they are not.
The horse's name was Old Whitey. President William Henry Harrison in 1841 rode a horse without a coat and hat. And we'll talk about the words a little later, but gave his address and went back to the White House, and I think we know what happened after that.
Well, this year, the chair of JSIC, of the Joint Committee on Congressional Inaugural Cemetery. Oh my goodness. Ceremonies. I told you it was a tongue twister.
You did.
Anyway, Senator Amy Klobuchar, she is going to be escorting the motorcade in. So, like we said, when the members of JSIC arrive, that is when all of this starts. Which president do you think was the first to arrive by car, by automobile?
By automobile.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you a few. Was it Wilson?
Thomas Woodrow Wilson. Okay.
Harding.
Warren G. Harding.
Hoover.
Herbert Clark Hoover from Rusk Ranch, Iowa.
Or Teddy Roosevelt?
Why do I think Theodore Roosevelt would have rode a horse?
Well, I mean, that is the image we have of Theodore Roosevelt, right?
I'm going to say Theodore Roosevelt.
It's actually Warren G. Harding.
Warren G. Harding.
1921. He's the first president to ride to the ceremony in an automobile.
He should have taken a horse. Would have been faster. You would have.
Well, I don't know what kind of car he had. I just know he came to the car. And as we're watching this, trying to pick out some more people to talk about so that we can tell you who we're seeing here. It's a lot of blue suits this year. I was watching your commentary from the last inauguration. I remember that Janet said a lot of the ladies wore teal. This time it's definitely navy blue.
Seems to be, yes. See the open seats, that'll be when we start the ceremony.
We're just waiting for the presidential inaugural arrival, and as soon as they show up, we are going to show you some footage of that. We'll go right to that camera. It looks like they're coming down. There we go. Looks like there they are. They're coming down Pennsylvania Avenue right now. On their way. You know, Thomas Jefferson walked to and from his inauguration.
His boarding house was the modern-day Longworth building. And at that time, when he was inaugurated, the room was the Senate chamber, which is a stunning room. Please visit us, and hopefully you'll be able to see the room. And you mentioned not his first, but the second inauguration. He said in one of his inaugural speeches, I believe it's the second, a difference in opinion does not necessarily make a difference in principle. And so, in translation, that we can disagree, but the principles, those are the fighting points. It's very much the way it is today.
You know, we've been talking a lot about the weather, of course, but at the beginning, the oath of office ceremony was always indoors. And then I think it's James Monroe who's the first to take the oath outside. Here's another thing I was thinking of. I remember reading, we're talking about Reagan's ceremony in the Rotunda. That happened on the Monday, the 5th, because the 4th was a Sunday. And I'm going back and forth. They used to be in March, and now they're in January.
20th Amendment, yes.
So it's on the 21st of January. And, not only was that Sunday the 20th, but it was also Super Bowl Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep. So
Emily, there's an image of Emancipation Hall we want you to see. And friends, Emily and I, we've seen a lot of ceremonies in this room. And this is where, again, the Rotunda can only hold so many people. So you have others. I shouldn't say that's not a polite word to use, others, but those that were not able to make the Rotunda are going to our relatively new visitor center. I shouldn't say relatively new. 2008 when it's opened. And so this is another staging area. This is another view of the presidential motorcade.
There we go, presidential motorcade arriving. Again, coming in on the east front.
What a scene in Emancipation Hall.
There's so many people.
If I'm not mistaken, there's about 12,000 to 14,000 seats there. So I'm sure there's more than that around. Junior?
Right. If it wasn't Inauguration Day.
Correct.
We would have been
In other
here.
words, we'll be open President's holiday,
Right.
the third Monday of February. We're open Memorial Day, 4th of July. Please check our website, visitthecapitol.gov, to see about operations for tomorrow. That's the sound of those rifles. It is approaching 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Ron Jackson. Emily Rouleau is with us. We are happy to present on behalf of CHASIC the 60th inauguration. President-elect Donald J. Trump will be sworn in by Chief Justice John Roberts shortly. When I say shortly, in about another 45 minutes. And Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh will swear in Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Between that time, a lot to observe, including the announcement of the Supreme Court justices. We have the luncheon that we're going to feature in National Statuary Hall, the Old House Chamber, the signing room.
In the President's room.
President's rooms.
There's a lot.
There's more than that.
And we're going to be with you for it all.
Thanks. We've been 2 hours just like that.
Flew by.
2 hours. Have you ever given a tour 2 hours?
Yes.
My goodness.
Yes.
There's.
Have you, Ron? I think you have.
Oh, so get me started. I might do it after this broadcast. I'm feeling motivated.
We're looking out. This is this is a view that we get to see a lot.
Yes.
On the right-hand side is the Library of Congress, biggest library in the world. And then on the other side, third branch of government, the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court used to be in the Capitol building all the way until 1935.
That's hard to believe in just another.
Yeah, they had a big blizzard, and so they had to move everything indoors. Yep. But, the Supreme Court sharing space with the Senate for so long, it seems unbelievable today, but, now they have their own building.
Emily, we're having a moment here in which we're about to observe the departure. Right. The setup for the departure is going on at the moment. So you see Marine One.
Right. Yep. So that is. There was a question as to whether or not the weather would be good enough today for Marine One to take off, but it has been cleared, so we're happy that it's there. Oh, and it sounds like we're taking our seats in the rotunda. I heard.
It's that time, 11 o'clock, the ceremonies. That piano player, I hope that person, I'd like to know that person's name again. Acknowledgement. Beginning to see people, they were going around shaking hands, talking to people. The seriousness of the moment is.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please be seated.
Yep.
Oh, this is a wonderful one. It's lovely.
Mm-hmm. Nice touch.
We're going to preview some of the things we're going to see in just a few minutes. And of course, they'll come up on your screen, but we're looking forward to having a call to order by Amy Klobuchar, who, like we said, is the head of JSIC, the Joint Committee. Also, invocation by Cardinal Dolan and Franklin Graham. I'm excited to hear a little opera. An opera singer from New York named Christopher Macchio. He is going to be singing later.
Tenor, yes. It was, speaking of opera singers, it was Jesse Norman in 1985, graced the Rotunda.
Yep, and then country music star Carrie Underwood will be singing America the Beautiful. So lots of pomp and circumstance. It's a very important event for America, but also a lot of great music.
I liked our last shot from the East Front. It was showing the preparation for the departure. Again, this is
Ladies and gentlemen, former Vice Presidents, the Honorable Dan Quayle, accompanied by Mrs. Marilyn Quayle, and the Honorable Michael Pence. Ladies and gentlemen, the 42nd President of the United States, the Honorable William J. Clinton, accompanied by the Honorable Hillary Rodham Clinton. Tiffany Trump, and Barron Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, escorting Dr. Biden and Mr. Emhoff, the Republican Staff Director of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Ms. Emily Leviner, the Senate Secretary for the Minority, the Honorable Gary Myrick, the House of Representatives Chief Administrative Officer, the Honorable Catherine Spindor, and Mr. Bruce Fisher. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jill Biden and Mr. Douglas Emhoff. Ladies and gentlemen, performing O America, please welcome the Armed Forces Chorus and America's tenor, Christopher D. Macchio.
To thee I will be. Oh, America, no weeping, let there be no wounded heart. I will keep you in my keeping till there'll be grand, and all through this land you are beautiful to me. Oh, America, you're calling. Oh, I can hear you calling me. You're calling me to pay to thee, to thee, oh, I will be. And we will be as one.
The Honorable Jackie Barber, the Clerk of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Kevin F. McCumber, Mr. John Bessler, Mrs. Kelly Johnson, Mrs. Iris Weinshaw Schumer, and Mrs. Jennifer Scalise. Ladies and gentlemen, escorting the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States, Ranking Member of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Deb Fischer, House Democratic Leader, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, and Senate Majority Secretary, the Honorable Robert Duncan. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, the Honorable Joseph R. Biden Jr., and Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Kamala Devi Harris. Ladies and gentlemen, escorting the Vice President-elect, the Executive Director for the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Mr. Michael Wagner, Senate Deputy Sergeant-at-Arms and Doorkeeper, Jason Bell, and House Deputy Sergeant-at-Arms, Mr. Sean Keating. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President-elect of the United States, the Honorable J.D. Vance. Ladies and gentlemen, escorting the President-elect, the Staff Director for the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Elizabeth Farah, House Sergeant-at-Arms, the Honorable William P. McFarland, Senate Sergeant-at-Arms and Doorkeeper, the Honorable Jennifer A. Hemingway, Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable John Thune, and the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, House Democratic Leader, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, House Majority Leader, the Honorable Steve Scalise, Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Mike Johnson, Senate Democratic Leader, the Honorable Charles E. Schumer, Ranking Member of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Deb Fischer, and Chairwoman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Amy Klobuchar. Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please welcome the chairwoman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 60th presidential inauguration. Today, President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Vance will take their oaths of office, and we will witness the peaceful transfer of power at the heart of our democracy. For the past year, I've chaired the Inaugural Ceremony Committee, which includes the leadership of Congress from both parties. We thank the committee and Capitol staff and law enforcement who worked so hard over the last year, and especially the last 3 days. You've done a beautiful job, and you have shown grace under pressure. Our theme this year is our enduring democracy. The presence of so many presidents and vice presidents here today is truly a testament to that endurance. We welcome President Biden and Dr. Biden. We welcome Vice President Harris and Doug Emhoff, President Obama, President Clinton and Secretary Clinton, President Bush and Laura Bush, Vice President Pence, Vice President Quayle and Marilyn Quayle. The justices of the United States Supreme Court are with us, all 9 of them, I counted, and of course, the Trump and Vance families. This ceremony marks what will soon be 250 years of our democracy. It is the moment when leaders, elevated by the will of the people, promise to be faithful to our Constitution, to cherish and defend it. It is the moment when they become, as we all should be, the guardians of our country. Through war and peace, through adversity and prosperity, we hold this inauguration every 4 years, and today it falls on Martin Luther King Day, a further reminder that we must strive to uphold the values enshrined in our Constitution, the freedoms, the liberties, and, as is inscribed on the entrance of the United States Supreme Court, equal justice under law. But what makes this moment more than a passing ceremony is all who are watching it across the country, the people of this nation, the ordinary people doing extraordinary things. President Kennedy, who at one point worked as a senator in this building and would often walk through this very rotunda, once said, "In a democracy, every citizen, regardless of interest in politics, holds office. Every one of us is in a position of responsibility." With that responsibility of citizenship comes an obligation not to seek out malice, as President Lincoln once reminded us, but to view others with a generosity of spirit despite our differences. With that responsibility of leadership comes an obligation to stand our ground when we must and find common ground when we can. With everything swirling around us, the hot mess of division, it is on all of us, to quote an incredible songwriter who just happened to be born in my state, to ensure that our nation's democracy is our shelter from the storm. There's a reason this ceremony takes place at the Capitol. In other countries, it might be in a presidential palace or a gilded executive office building. Here it is traditionally held at the Capitol, the People's House. It is a fitting reminder of the system of checks and balances that is the very foundation of our government, 3 equal branches of government. That is how, for nearly 250 years, our great American experiment, grounded in the rule of law, has endured. So, as we inaugurate a new president and vice president, let us remember that the power of those in this room comes from the people. The construction workers who build our country, the teachers and healthcare workers who nurture us, the troops defending our freedoms, and yes, the firefighters in Los Angeles putting themselves on the line for us. Our democracy's strength and grit must match theirs. May God bless our nation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Endurance through the years is the ultimate test. To persevere through time is the truest measure of an idea, an institution, and a nation. Our founders wrote the Constitution so that America could withstand all the twists and turns of time. They wrote it to guide us and to preserve forever our right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But as much as the truths and principles enshrined in our Constitution remain the same, our democracy promises the American people the power to change, to chart their own destiny. That's the beauty. That is the importance of democracy. It allows the endurance, the permanence of a nation through change. It allows nations like our United States both to avoid the obstacles and to seize the opportunities God has placed before us, all while staying true to our founding principles. Today is our country's 60th inauguration ceremony. Like all the others before it, it is a celebration of our right to set our uniquely American course. The past several years have been trying at times for many, many Americans, and also for the nations of the free world that we humbly strive to lead. In November, Americans chose again to steer this nation towards greatness, the secure, safe, and prosperous future that our founders envisioned for all of us. And today, we celebrate not only their decision to do so, but also the simple right and wisdom of a free people to make their own choice so that their nation might endure. And now, allow me to welcome Archbishop Timothy Dolan and Reverend Franklin Graham, who will deliver our invocation. Please rise.
Be still and know that I am God, supreme among the nations, supreme on the earth. Let us pray. Remembering General George Washington on his knees at Valley Forge, recalling Abraham Lincoln at his second inaugural, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. Remembering General George Patton's instructions to his soldiers as they began the Battle of the Bulge 8 decades ago. Pray. Pray when fighting. Pray alone. Pray with others. Pray by night. Pray by day. Observing the birthday of the Reverend Martin Luther King, who warned, without God, our efforts turn to ashes. We, blessed citizens of this one nation under God, humbled by our claim that in God we trust, gather indeed this Inauguration Day to pray for our President Donald J. Trump, his family, his advisors, his cabinet, his aspirations, his vice president, for the Lord's blessings upon Joseph Biden, for our men and women in uniform, for each other whose hopes are stoked this new year, this Inauguration Day. We cannot err in relying upon that prayer from the Bible, upon which our president will soon place his hand in oath, as we make our own the supplications of King Solomon for wisdom as he began his governance. God of our fathers, in your wisdom you set man to govern your creatures, to govern in holiness and justice, to render justice with integrity. Give our leader wisdom, for he is your servant, aware of his own weakness and brevity of life. If wisdom which comes not from you be not with him, he shall be held in no esteem. Send wisdom from heavens that she may be with him, that he may know your designs. Please, God, bless America. Please, mend her every flaw. You are the God in whom we trust, who lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
Mr. President, the last 4 years, there are times I'm sure you thought it was pretty dark. But look what God has done. We praise him and give him glory. Let us pray. Our Father and our God, thou hast said, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. As the prophet Daniel prayed, blessed be the name of God forever and ever. For wisdom and might are his. He changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings. He raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. Our Father, today, as President Donald J. Trump takes the oath of office once again, we come to say thank you, O Lord our God. Father, when Donald Trump's enemies thought he was down and out, you and you alone saved his life and raised him up with strength and power by your mighty hand. We pray for President Trump that you'll watch over, protect, guide, direct him. Give him your wisdom from your throne on high. We ask that you would bless him and that our nation would be blessed through him. We also ask that you would bless and protect Melania as First Lady. We thank you for the beauty, the warmth, and grace that she shows not only to this nation, but to the whole world. We thank you for Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and his wife Usha and their young family. May he be a strength to President Trump, to stand beside him, to hold up his arms like Aaron held up the arms of Moses in the midst of battle. The prophet Samuel reminded the people, it was you that brought them up from the land of Egypt. And he said, now stand still, that I may reason with you before the Lord. So, Father, we take this moment to stand still, to remember the great things that you have done for this nation. Thank you for the protection, the bounty, the freedoms that we so enjoy. We remember to keep our eyes fixed on you, and may our hearts be inclined to your voice. We know that America can never be great again if we turn our backs on you. We ask for your help, and we pray all of this in the name of the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, your Son, my Savior, and our Redeemer, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Associate Justice Kavanaugh to administer the Vice Presidential Oath of Office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith
That I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same.
and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office.
the duties of the office
On which I am about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Justice Roberts to administer the Presidential Oath of Office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
It is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you the 45th and the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country, sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we're watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense. They're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly. My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is why each day under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day. It is my hope that our recent presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural, and very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states, and the popular vote, we won by millions of people. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. Thank you. Thank you. National unity is now returning to America, and confidence and pride is soaring like never before. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country. We will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Can't do that. Today I will sign a series of all illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. We're going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be freed to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies. Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families. Thank you. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs.